citizen.
Out of many
we are world citizens, same vision is for equal rights and justice for the people them. What's happening to this beautiful world that we're living in? World citizen, lift up your voice.
Welcome to the People Powered Planet podcast, where each week we have amazing solutionaries. And we recently had Emannuel, who is part of our group today, who is part of the Holon movement. And he gave us a tremendous overview of the work they're doing that fits in so well with what Garry Davis and we worked on proposing a people-powered planet. And today I see that David Gallup is joining us, who is heads the World Service Authority in Washington, D.C., which been issuing world passports since 1954, identifying us as citizens of this one planet Earth. And the reason why I'm so especially excited about our meeting today is that people in the Holon movement have a very similar objective of connecting us as a whole of a world and of integrating and bringing us together in new and innovative ways that I think could greatly benefit the work that we're doing with David Gallup and others to evolve the world citizen government. The world citizen government is already functioning in terms of thousands and millions of people who have used the world passport, world identity documents, and so on to free themselves from some of the most horrible refugee camps and other places, and even to get in many areas, people without an identity can't often get medical care or other things, and now they're able to get those with the world passport. So, in any case, there's other podcasts on that. You can take a look at that. But today, as part of the Holon movement, we have. I'm really delighted to have Mariko and Yasmine. Mariko has been worked in PR. She worked with big companies like Wells Fargo and Kellogg. She did Sony and New Line promoting movies, and I guess she came to the end of that, she says, when she was working for Pacific Gas and Electric and had to be part of their big cover-up. And, that just wasn't it for her. And so now she's discovered something new and people to align with, and is doing great work for the planet. Welcome, Mariko. We're so glad to have you here.
Good to be here. Thank you for that wonderful intro.
And Yasmine is a true world citizen. I mean, she's just lived all over the world. She stays with people everywhere. She's maybe I'll let her say a little bit more about it, but she's actually she is a citizen of planet Earth. Tell us a little bit more about you.
Well, thank you, Arthur. Thank you all for having us here today. Very similar to your mission. The world is our home, and I feel it. I know it. I believe it. Having traveled across 48 countries from Morocco, leaving at the age of 17, I had this dream to go visit families everywhere and reconnect to the human family. They didn't know it yet, but I knew that they were my family. And so with an open heart, I just went for it. I asked a lot of questions, and people welcomed me in their homes. Over 250 families across all 50 US states in America, across all 48 countries. And one of those families was Emannuel and Laura. When I met them a couple months ago, we were in tears. It was one of those moments of recognition and realizing that we are on a similar mission. And so now we're combining, our hands and the community catalyst for the Holon movement. And I just couldn't be more excited to be supporting such a vision.
And Emannuel, we did introduce you last week, but maybe you could say a little bit more of introduction to how you helped give birth to the Holon movement with you and Laura, and a little bit more about our special guest today.
Yes, thank you, Arthur, and it's a pleasure to be back with you today. The world is definitely the country of all of us, and we're all world citizens here together. So, my story with my wife, Laura Rose, goes back to about 40 years when we began working in cultural exchange. And many of those programs coincide with Yasmine and her activity. So that was a great meeting when we met her and discussed many of our cultural exchange experiences, because really that's the root of world understanding and cultural understanding, as traveling and meeting others from other countries and opening our minds and our horizons to new ideas and sharing those with everyone we meet along the way. And we wanted to expand this concept and make it more active. Certainly the world today needs plenty of solutions. And so the Holomovement is a project that I've been working on basically my entire adult life to try and find a sociological manner to help people collaborate more, to all the like-minded organizations sharing resources, ideas, and working together to find solutions to the challenges we face today. The term Holomovement then comes from physicist David Bohm, and it's a term he used to describe the way the infinite potential of the quantum field that he called the implicate order codes and informs the manifest reality we live in that he called the explicate order. And he said, although those are seemingly quite different, actually all is one. And there is something that connects the conscious source with material reality. That is the Holomovement. So that's what we're in. That's what we're moving together, a movement of the whole to find solutions for humanity, and above all, to build communities. We feel the right way forward is to give people a chance to create ecosystems of support with their ideas for solutions, and to meet up with friends and associates who share those views and form communities so that we can work together hand in hand to move forward. And as well, those communities can meet other communities. So this is the mechanism we have created within the Holomovement. These communities we refer to as Holons, which is a term for being both a part and simultaneously the whole. So all of you out there are little Holons, and you're part of the whole at the same time. We welcome you all, and looking forward to Mariko, who along with her public relations background has worked in various positions in the conscious community and has been a definite mover and shaker among some of the big players. And we're delighted to have Mariko on board as our core synergist at the Holomovement. And then also recently, Yasmine Baggari has joined us with her long experience in cultural exchange and her intrepid travels around the world. And she is the Holon community catalyst, bringing the Holons together, welcoming them, and showing them the way forward. So they're key members, core members of our team here to make these communities grow and prosper in the world today. And we're very pleased to be here, Arthur. Thank you for inviting us today and helping the world be the country we all live in.
Perfect. Well, Yasmine and Mariko asked me to give a little bit of a background of the framework that I'm seeing this fitting into. And so first of all, Garry Davis, as you saw in our movie, as a bomber pilot, was so horrified at killing people and his own brother getting killed, and then seeing that he could well be recalled to bomb Moscow in a war that could end life on Earth. And he was so torn up about that he undertook what would be considered an impossible quest. How do we actually conquer war? How do we do that? And he actually came out with three amazing revelations. One is that humanity has already invented a system that ends war, that abolishes war, that outlaws war. And that is that inside countries with one government, we don't fight wars. The perfect example of that is Europe, where a continent plagued by war after war after war. When you travel around and you talk to people, there's just a history of wars and two great world wars and Germany and France fighting each other. And in the 70 some years since the European Union was created and a system of courts was invented to resolve conflicts, not a single European country has fought a war with another country inside that union. There have been civil wars, there have been wars with people outside, but not in there. So there are actually two things that are more powerful than war. One is law, and the other is, of course, nonviolence, where we saw all through Eastern Europe, when tanks came rolling into like Lithuania and Estonia, they didn't respond. They didn't have NATO forcing them to fight with bombs, which is the weak force. They used the strong force, people holding hands across the three countries, and nonviolently, with the singing revolution, beat the mighty Russian Empire. So anyway, one was that realization that there is a more powerful force and a way to do it. The second one was the realization that almost every single country has their constitution says it's based on we the people. The Universal Declaration, it is the will of the people shall be the basis of the sovereignty of nation. Then he said, why in the heck are we knocking our heads against the wall, begging and pleading these government leaders of these phony lines, of these non-existent fake realities? And there is no such thing as the United States of America. That's a line somebody drew on the map, as were all those lines in Europe. There are, I mean, Europe didn't get rid of countries. People still have their love of their nation and their nationalities, but they don't have these invisible lines that they have to fight wars over. And anyway, so if we the people are the sovereigns, then the key question that he asked is, how can we, as sovereign world citizens, govern our world? And that key question is what fired him to create what he called the World Syntegrate Project. Basically, it was very much like a Holon. It was a small group of people interacting in a synergistic manner that he had actually was based on Buckminster Fuller's principles. He hired a Stafford Beer, who was part of Fuller's group, to help him develop an interactive way that we could govern our world. And he actually tested this out in many places before the internet, like you see here, Sierra Leone women, I mean, refugee women excluded from the order in which nation states exist, actually had incredible ideas and thinking. And he realized that if we could interact in a way that now, when the internet came along, he got so excited because now we could begin to use that tool. And it's beginning to evolve. We're beginning to evolve a system where these tools that can be used to oppress us can also be used to liberate us. So here's that key question. How can we as sovereign world citizens govern our world? You're fed up with politics as usual, don't know how to change them. You recognize yourself as part of one world. Would you like to exercise your will on world issues that affect you daily? Well, that's why we're here today with the Holons, because as we are tasked with continuing that building that interactive governing system, how is this new government of, by, and for the people of the planet going to govern? Is it going to use that weak force of military force, and is it going to use all those stupid things, or is it going to evolve a new circular economy that includes all of us, a new ways of doing things that use this incredible inventiveness of humanity to bring our world together? And so that's why we're here today to talk with you about maybe to walk us through Holon, and maybe we go ahead and create a Holon with that central question. How can we, as sovereign world citizens, govern our world and attract people to be a part of building that with us? Government has actually had some pretty good ideas. There's a deliberative body. How do we create that interactive deliberative body of humanity that brings us up? And then there's a court system. How do we enforce when there's violators? How do we, the people, use people power to enforce when Pacific Gas and Electric pulls off the kind of shenanigans that Mariko was talking about? How do we, the people, have a legal court case against it interactively, with people being a part of it, and bringing the top? Well, I think the key part is it's sort of like a wiseocracy, but it's a wiseocracy of the whole. It's how do we bring out the highest and best wisdom of each individual? The old win-lose democracy, isn't it all working? 51% win, 49% lose. That throws us into this horrid system where it's a race to the bottom, where people vote for somebody that all kinds of things they don't agree with because they want them instead of the other worst guy. And what we need to do is to really come up with a new interactive system that's better than voting. It's this synergistic thing that creates more. Okay, better than better than win-lose democracy is like coming to some kind of a consensus, but then that's not the exact thing. Synergy is something more powerful than that. Synergy is that we come out of it with something better than anybody came into the room with. It's not I compromise a little, you compromise a little. It's that we set and Garry has talked about in this synergy, you set a topic. And when you set a topic, then you can bring people from opposite sides of issues, red states, green states, or whatever, blue states, whatever. It's where you set a topic and then you begin to find out who we are really as people, as you said, interactively, and you have a system that brings out our stories and our connection and that focuses on a topic. You find amazing similarities. You don't find all this bashing against each other. So our task now is how do we begin to create the architecture for we the people to govern our world? And let me throw that open to you, that question, and let's talk about how we can do a Holon on that.
Well, I'll jump in, Arthur. Thank you for that. That was a really great blueprint of what you're bringing to it, and really does help us to, I think, steer where we're going to go next, because Yasmine will definitely share screen. We can go through more of the ethos of the what we're creating together, the bigger picture, what we can actually do on a platform, and that there is a community platform and technology here, open source, that we can build on your current vision, and then also all of the other passion projects that are in the world. Because I think it's really good to just note again that Holons it's about collective purpose. This is really the meat of the work. This is the theory of change of the Holon movement. This is where people who are absolute yeses to and are called to do something better, to actually move into action, to move their passion or move what it is that they are here to do. And it could be from prayer circles to regenerative agricultural projects. It could just be there's a ton, and we can actually talk a bit more about that. But really, those passion projects coming together into community in a collective way, so that we're transparently communicating, connecting on a deeper way, and then activating each other into further action. And I do want to just back up a little bit and really thank you for what you're bringing to the table, and thank Garry too, because watching the incredible film, it was awe-inspiring, and it really hit me personally, because just looking at my background in public relations and marketing, I was developed and came through in the aspect of communication and how that is tailored to move society or people in a certain way that doesn't necessarily benefit people, which is why I broke out of that. And Garry coming in, catalytic events and transformation, things where this movement that we're all in was sparked by a catalytic, event that, the World War, and then a movement was created. And what's happening now on the planet is actually really kind of the similar things are happening every day. There's just something that is incredibly mind-blowing, and humanity is falling apart. There's more war. I mean, it's political, the families, COVID, everything. There's just so much that's happening in the world that is actually bringing more people into saying yes to humanity, into the one family. And the Holon movement really it's based in science, but it's also spiritual. And I do want to make sure that we know that we are very much beyond politics. We are the one family. We are the human race. We are holding the essence and the frequency that humanity is good when we are allowed to be good and free and sovereign. And so it's really this beautiful balance that the Holon movement is holding. I love that you are bringing the explicate. I love what Garry is sparked really is the explicate. It is the action. It is brilliance around legal matters. He found loopholes. He brought something extraordinary together that a lot of our community and people in the world are going to be very interested in. We can help build and accelerate and move that forward. Right. And at the same time, we want to make sure that people are conscious, because my work really is at the same time making sure that people are conscious and aware of the spiritual aspect of the frequency of love and compassion that then moves them into action. It moves the action. It inspires higher ways of being. It inspires you having a better connection with someone at the supermarket because you're in a love frequency, because you are embracing humanity in a more conscious way. And so it's not just about the action, it's actually about the frequency of our action. And so I love that in this partnership that we are really developing together, and what we can do together. I really want to make sure that your community is also aware that the spiritual nature of the frequency of how we are being in the world. We get to be peace, right? And then as well as some of the aspects that that Garry is really talking about. It's like there are legal aspects of world governments, and the people that are in frequency, the right frequency of supporting, that the people trust. It matters the frequency of the consciousness of people. So there's a lot to this in the Holon movement, but I do think as we all introduce ourselves more, and the community is learning more about the Holon movement, you really understand the conscious aspect of what we're doing. And it's a lot of hard work, because there's a lot of unlearning that needs to happen because of what's happened. And part of my own, adult background of what I was perpetuating in communications, and allowing people to see that it's what are we choosing? Why are we choosing the color blue? I was part of that, so there's a lot of unlearning that humanity has to go through to actually see each other fully. A whole movement means wholeness in motion. Wholeness.
Yes.
We see each other in the whole state of who we are, and represent and love each other. So there's a lot that we have to unlearn too, as beings, to actually be in peace, to be in action that is high frequency and moves the world the way we want to, as well as the explicate piece that you're bringing in that is brilliant, along with other Holons that are in the space that are bringing amazing actions and transformative projects in the world that are actually going to drive it forward. So there's a balance between the implicate and the explicate that Emannuel was talking about.
And I just want to say, I so resonate with what you're saying. And as you know, in our movie, the spiritual dimension was a crucial turning point for Garry when he connected with the guru and learned that lesson of how to get into that frequency of the whole. And that was a crucial shift that made it possible for him to accept Eleanor Roosevelt's challenge to go ahead and do it, create a government of, by, and for the people, and to have the gall to jump into that. And so that really fires us up. And I also appreciate in the quote, Barbara just put in the Bucky Fuller quote about you can't change reality by fighting the old. You mentioned all the incredible disasters in the world, and millions of us are putting all our energy into how do we fight this battle and that battle to stop all these horrible things, and we're never going to get anywhere doing that. We have to just create something new that merges up, that so disrupts the old system by creating something so much better that the old just falls away. We don't have to be revolutionaries. We have to be solutionaries. And when we create that solutionary new reality, they'll come running to us. They'll want to join us. So
exactly. And let me just throw in a point in there, because one of the things, it's not about going back into the past or the trauma of things, because a lot of people do trauma work, and I'm just one of these people. And the whole movement's about moving forward, looking forward, and making the choice to be a better person. You have to make that choice every day. It's like we can go back into the cycle of things that didn't work, but actually it's just getting in that creative mode and making that choice every day to be a better person and to actually choose projects. And then the rest just kind of fades away. We actually become better people. And then it's in practice. You're being in a practice state of actually being better, moving transformational things and goodness through the world. So it's actually just a forward focus, aspect of the movement too.
Yes, go ahead, Yasmine.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like everything has been said, but my belief in humble perspective, having seen the world and touched all these incredible places and meeting all these different people, it's undeniable that people are ready for something different. For us to experience peace, not only within, but with each other, we must know each other, like build those trust-based relationships in order for us to collaborate better. I think the educational system and how we've been conditioned, we think that we have to be in siloed, or we have to be just with our tribe. But really, like the magic is in interconnecting with the different tribes across the planet, because the solution is already here. It's not rocket science. I know some of the Holons will be going to the moon, right, with the overview effect. We're in exploration with Frank White as well, with the overview effect. Like, how do we have that perspective beyond the earth to realize how how small we are on this tiny dot? And so for me, it's about that deep curiosity to connect with someone who's different, different industries, different perspectives, beliefs, religions. You talked about Israel and Palestine. You talked about, the blue state, the red state in America, and the polarization that exists here. But I mean, having been to all 50 states, I can tell you that when you get to the heart of the human stories, everybody wants the same thing. And we get stuck in the layers, the veil of ignorance, when there's so much more that we can uncover and help one another to find these solutions. The problems that people are facing in America, maybe the solutions are in Africa, and the problems in India are in New Zealand, and those interconnectedness. And what I believe we're creating with Holomovement is creating the connective tissue with the weaving, where people can connect, get to know one another, and begin to collaborate and help each other, have that mutuality. So it's really simple, but it takes someone like Emannuel to write that book and to have that vision to bring people like you together, and then start to co-create in action. So that's my humble perspective, and I'm happy to share more on the how, and how do we use technology, right, and these virtual experiences and in-person gathering, including the annual Ibiza Wave Summit, where we bring all the Holons together, all the members together, and it just happened in Ibiza, which was, I wasn't there, but everyone, it was felt across the planet. When we come together in person, the magic happens, and it becomes very clear. And so that will be, I'm happy to share more on the technology front.
What I'm wondering is if we'll actually be able to walk through setting up a Holon on the question, how can we as sovereign world citizens govern our world? And I wonder if you want to share screens and walk us through creating that, or what you see as the best way of actually, because this is going to be action today, show us how to do it, and take us through the process. Can you do that?
Absolutely. This is the Hilo, website, which is really about creating community with purpose. And so how do we activate these communities around the world that are mission aligned? And so that's basic. It's a nonprofit, and the whole mission of Hilo is activating passionate people toward their dreams and co-creation and collaboration. And so they've partnered with communities around the world, bioregional groups, Holomovement, Purpose. I mean, there's so many groups that I can't even name them. I mean, these are some example: Open Team, New Public, Pro-Social, which is how we got connected to the Holomovement. And I've actually known the Hilo group for many years. I've been a friend and co-creator and collaborator with them as well. And just to give you a glimpse of the technology itself, actually, let me share. Once you're into the platform, I'm actually gonna give the Holomovement community. So it's sub-communities within Hilo. So right now I'm part of multiple communities, and you can start a group. So you're able to see these are all postings from the community members, and what they're working on, what they're up to. You're able to see all the members here, and you can search based on location, based on interest. So this is, post, like community wall, where you're able to create a post. It could be a discussion, it could be a request, an offer, a resource, an event, or a project. And let's give an example here. Discussion: the world is my country. And let's say we want to have a discussion. How do you find belonging in the world, as a question? So then you can tag different topics like Holon projects. You can post it in the Holomovement Holons, but you can also post it in different communities that are open. Let's say Building Hilo, because the whole intention of Hilo is the interconnection with other communities that are on here. So it's very much a community-based approach. So you're able to weave with other groups as well. You can make it public. You can add a location, San Francisco, and then you can post. So now you're able to make a post, and then people can start to comment and start to engage with your post. This is just different ways you can view the posting. So as you can see, people have been very active posting about different events, articles, like different resources to be able to engage with one another. And so the other important feature here is the ask and offers. So one of the things about asks and offers is like, we want to encourage community members to support one another. So once a month, we host what we call the ripple effect. And the ripple effect is all about, creating the safe space and trusted environment where people begin to do asks and offers. And then you start to see people actually helping each other on the spot. And then they can take it on to the Holomovement group, the Holomovement Holons Global Hub, and continue to do that outside of these sessions. And so it's combining technology as a tool, but everything happens continuously. And so you can see Jeff has an ask, connecting with other land projects all over the world. Yeah, so let's see. And another cool feature that I'd love to mention is the map feature. So you're able to see who is around you. Let's see. I see that Mariko is in Arizona. There we go. So these are members across the world that I'm able to kind of zoom out. Actually, this is kind of cool for the world is for you because you're able to see all the projects and the people around the world who are on the platform. And then you can reach out to them, grab a coffee, talk about collaboration, and just be curious about what they're working on in their local towns and countries. So
yeah, and these are all actual Holon members. This is the actual global Holon network at the moment.
exactly. So I'm able to see both the group, the Holons that are like there's Purpose Lab, there is, let's see, the spiritual lives of scientists. That's kind of cool. Holomovement as the narrative. And so we have new Holons joining almost every week now. Yoga and spiritual practice, collaboratory. So you're able to see not only the members, but also the Holons and where they're based. And our hope is to have this map completely full so that we have every state and every country represented. That's how we know we have achieved our mission.
I like that image at the top because that's very much like what Garry was talking about, where all these separate synergy groups would interactively interact and be actually forming the principles and rules kind of humanity. The people who sign on with a smart contract, basically, Garry said it's all a contract. He said, we're making peace here tonight. You're making peace with me. I'm making peace with you. We make these kind of smart contracts that interactively become the rules and laws for society. And for example, in every single jurisdiction on the planet except the global, killing people is illegal. And yet at the global level, it's perfectly fine. You get medals for it. So it's wacko. All we need to do is create that jurisdiction of the world and just say you're not allowed to kill people. Okay, then you don't have to abolish war because you can do one, but you just can't kill people. Okay, go ahead. Have a singing war, whatever else it is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So did you want to go through the process of creating, is that what we want to do? Is that?
Yeah. How do I go now if I want to continue and create a Holon for the question, how can we as sovereign world citizens govern our world? So what should I click on next?
So yeah, you do the create button at the top. So you go to create and then we're going to do the great. Yeah, so go
all right.
Great. And then you're going to click on group.
Perfect.
Group.
Right at the bottom.
Okay.
And then we're going to come up with a title of your Holon. So this is, it's okay to do this if you want. We can go through it and we can just completely tweak this a bit later. But essentially, you want the main group. And I think from your perspective, maybe it's the world is my government or whatever the Holon. So you want to think of from the perspective, really give some thought of, is this the main hub for maybe it's world citizens, whatever you want to call it. And then your community will be coming into this hub. And then smaller Holons or other Holon groups can then be developed outside of this. But it is connected, essentially, if you think of it from circles, it's all connected, interweaved and interconnected to the Holon hub. So just put in let's just come up with a title. Government Spaceship Earth, okay.
Love that.
Okay, now we're gonna go back up on your your right side, you see at the top, it says group settings. Let's go in your group settings.
Okay, it says group settings. There we go. Okay.
Okay.
I
So
want
this is
to
where,
know
this
your
is,
location. Okay, allow. All right.
yeah, we're
Okay.
gonna want to put a location in, because remember on that map that we saw, that's where we see the holons, where you're at, where you're active, that sort of thing. And every member can actually put their location. This is why it's so important to fill out your personal profiles when you come in to this group. And come into Hilo, fill out your personal profiles. That way we can see you, connect, and connect in person. You know, someone, let's say I'm in Spain tomorrow. I want to see what holons are there. I can actually meet up or message someone, or and collaborate together. So yeah, come up with your purpose statement. You're gonna have a deeper description as well. We can change the photos a little bit later.
To evolve a solutionary interactive governance architecture for planet Earth. Is our purpose.
Well,
And-
before we go into this, because you can definitely dial in the purpose statement, a little bit of description a little bit later. But I think some of the bigger things are around privacy and access. So let's go to your privacy and access right on the sidebar here. Let's click on that. Okay, so here, this is actually where you actually have more of your, what is the governance that you want for your Holon, right? So let's look at this from a this perspective. I like, if you can scroll up just a tad bit, I can't see the top part of the screen. Okay, so visibility. Visibility is essentially, if I come on to Hilo and I search for your name, will it come up into the public search engine? It's not, can I see into your Holon, but I can't, I might not be able to see in all the details in it, but can I physically see that there is an actual Holon? And I think that's a yes. You want people to see who you are, where you are, and so you want to keep this currently set up as public. Okay. Now, access point. Access is where you want to decide, is this group closed by invitation only? Is it you want to go through an approval process? So is there are there agreements? Like, we can go up top over on the left. I don't want to click on it yet, but you'll see up top there's agreements where you can actually, before anyone joins, there's a list of questions, there are agreements of how to behave socially on your platform or in your group. You can set those up, and we can send you some of the examples that we have that we use. And actually, Arthur, when you went through the process of signing up for the Holon Global Hub, you probably answered, it said yes to those agreements to become a member, right? It's just
Right.
how do we behave and the ethos of the environment that we're creating together, right?
It does seem to me that as sovereign world citizens, we do have to agree to a certain sense. And as you don't want to join this and be bashing each other or doing other things, so we do have some rules you have to. And Garry talked about that too. Kind of a pledge of world citizenship and planetary allegiance. So I guess I should put restricted, and then we get to write those rules.
Just put an example for the Holon movement and how we worked on our own agreements, just as an example. And we're happy to help also think through how to structure those. You can add questions, and then you can also collect some information about why do people want to join, and it can have some level of accountability as well, that people are agreeing towards this common mission.
The other thing we can look at, yeah, because I'm sure you have a bunch of questions, because it looks like even from one of the research that I was looking at with a lot of the web pages, you sent me the links as I was learning about it. You have a lot of questions or different things here, and I think it's really valuable for you to ask those questions to see if people are coming in with the right mindset or mentality, or just consciously that they want to be world citizens.
And actually, one idea for you, Arthur, is you can have it maybe a requirement to watch the movie before they join the group, because then there's kind of like an educational aspect.
At a recommendation rather than a requirement.
Yeah,
And,
optional. Yes, but I think it's a good.
Maybe I'll just make that a question then. I'll go down here and I'll say, can I put a URL in here? Can I say theworldismycountry.com, and then they'll get a link to it or not?
It should work. It should work. Yeah.
Okay. Save changes.
So go back to invite, click on the link, the green link up at the very top. Yeah, you can just copy that.
Okay, so let me go back to the chat. Here we go.
I would just post
And I'll
that link.
paste-
As soon as you are invited into what Author just created the Holon, you can then go into the hit that create button, hit a group, and then you create your own Holon within it. So you're actually now connecting additional bubbles that are connected to the original Holon that Arthur created, then is connected to the Holomovement, and then greater community in Hilo. So essentially, you just gain a massive community. Everyone in Hilo
Yeah.
is actually interconnected as well.
And
So
then all
you're
these
gaining
bubbles
major community.
interacting. That's just what
Exactly.
now we have extraordinary people in this group, and I hope each of you will join the Holon. I mean, Ozwem has been doing remarkable work bringing together Rotarians from all over the world into these huge mega meetings, and Gene Stevens has been campaigning so powerfully for a world free of nuclear weapons and held a wonderful event, a marvelous film about the movie The Day After, but it's the powerful movie. It's about the most powerful television event in the history of movies, and that is The Day After reached 100 million people and 200 million in the Soviet Union and helped get President Reagan and Gorbachev to step us back from the brink of nuclear war back in 1983. And this film television event can help do that again. Well, Gene has been had shown in theaters and had a march from there to the Air Force Base and where the nuclear weapons are stored and so on. And then Peter Metz has been a key person in We Rotary group of people working to save the world and connecting with that. And then Michael is doing incredible stuff on self-sovereign identity, so that not only is the passport a physical thing you can hold, it's also a digital identity that takes back, instead of the powers that be controlling our identity and using that to control us, it's to liberate us by owning our own identities and being able to interactively use that as we're working in the world. And Claire is just doing wonderful, amazing things. Stefan there in Canada is also on the cutting edge, and David Gallup here with the World Service Authority. So we have a marvelous core group here. Barbara and Richard, I hope you will all join that Holon and be part of our interactively creating the world we choose.
What would be incredible is like to really look at this group. We're 15 here as like the stewards, the ambassadors of the Holon, because what really activates a community is that those initial post welcomes, like even introducing yourself, where you live, where you're from. It helps to activate the next 100 and 1,000 and hundreds of thousands and millions. And so I just want to invite us all to be the ambassadors of this Holon and start to activate the community by joining Hilo, the platform, and then start to post. So that's just a little invitation.
David, are you still there? Can you maybe jump in a little bit and see how you think this might help evolve? Garry, so David worked very closely with Garry Davis for many decades.
Hello, and thank you for all the work that you're doing to unite us. I guess one comment I would have is if it would be possible to just have Earth as your identifier. I know you want to have people say, well, here, where are you exactly, specifically on planet Earth, so you can link all those hubs. But it would be nice to have the option just to say planet Earth. I mean, when people ask, David, where are you from? I say planet Earth. And they say, well, where do you live? I say, I live in my body. So and it's just for us as world citizens is to get the point across that really we're human environmental beings first and foremost, and that all those other divisions or classifications, although they're important and we want to protect them by moving beyond them, that's not maybe first how we should identify. I mean, I like to quote Albert Einstein, who said, remember your humanity and forget the rest. I mean, Garry would always say, there's really two most important questions in the 21st century. Who are you? And how do we ensure survival of humanity in the earth? And I think the Holon movement is helping to answer those two questions. You know, who are you as a Holon, as a world citizen? If we can't say we're world citizens first and foremost, then we're maybe going to destroy ourselves. And if we can't ensure survival of humanity, then that's it. Nothing else really matters. I mean, the Earth will still go on without us. The Earth doesn't need us. We need it. So anyway, it's just a thought about identifying, as an Earthling, as a world citizen.
I love that. And I think, actually, the Holon itself can just be Earth-based. You can put in anything you want. You can just put it in. And I think if you're willing, because we're all located somewhere, and I think from the location perspective as an individual. So if I said in my description, I am a world citizen, however you want, and then if you would like to, it's not a requirement, But if you want to show where you're currently located on the world, you can do that.
Right.
And that's very
Okay.
helpful for us to find each other, because
Right.
the map really does. And I think even for all of us, even a Holomovement, it's like, yeah, we're all world citizens. I mean, I absolutely resonate with everything that we're talking about here as a one humanity. And I mean, that is the greater goal here, is really to beyond the borders. It's really finding each other and getting a deeper connection. So the map actually shows us in some way, if we actually look at it, it's like, whoa, we're all connected. There's no borders here. And how do we find each
Right.
other? So in some way, I think it's really a play on words. You know, it's the Holon itself can be earth based. We can totally figure out the ways to do that. And then individually, you can actually just say, I am currently located here or wherever, and it can move wherever you go.
Sure.
But you don't have to be, I wouldn't say it's not a requirement or an actual identity of where you need to be. Especially if you want to keep it world citizen first. And I think you can do that. It's not a requirement even to put your location in. So it's up to
Oh, that's
you. I would
great.
say it's up to you, but you can
I
play
love
with
to
it.
hear that.
There's different ways, layers to it. Yeah.
Excellent. That's fabulous. I love it.
Well, one thing I do want to mention, just because more like on the action-oriented part, is that we are hosting these monthly gatherings. The Welcome Experience is coming up on July 9th, and I would love to extend an invitation to all of you, so you get to meet the larger community, the Holon movement that has many different Holons from all over the world. So that is going to be coming up in July 9th. And then the other one later in the month is called the Ripple Effect. That's just going down into like, what do you need? What can I help you with? And just starting to create those synergies and collaborations and helping one another in a more practical way.
I have a quick question. So for folks that are wondering, so, this is a collaborative, getting people together, and very important. It's a platform. So I just wanted someone to talk about, if they could, the difference in privacy and that type of thing between not just Facebook, but other platforms people use that they might worry that, oh, Facebook, I don't know. So can anyone address the privacy?
Actually, I'm putting down the privacy terms and conditions in the chat. But one of the things that differentiates Hilo from any other platform is the care and the sacredness around privacy. And so the data is not shared or sold to any third parties. It really is there to connect us, values-based, interest-based. And so feel free to read I just put the link up. But yeah, the data is very protected.
No advertising, any of that also. This is all people-powered, open source development. It can expand and evolve as we do. So, as this is all an experiment, as we all come together, it's like, what do we need actually to better communicate or connect? Maybe it's live streaming possibilities and development and things like that. Because we're so connected with the developers itself, we have the possibility to actually have this grow for not only our communities, but then some. Anyone utilizing the platforms, everything that we add to it or want to expand is actually becomes available to the entire community.
And then how, just in the world reality that we have, how are the developers supported? Because, for the moment, we're using money as a way to support people. What kind of support do the developers have to keep them going?
That's a really wonderful question. I mean, over the years, Hilo's been supported by different foundations and donors, but also a lot of communities that want to co-build with them. So if there's a certain feature that is important to a specific group, then they co-develop it together. But now it's public information. I'm happy to share that they just received a $250,000 grant from the Novo Foundation, a private family philanthropy group in New York. And so it's definitely, a mission-driven.
That's great.
And one of the new models they developed too is this community stewardship package, where they can support communities more beyond just the platform, but some more additional support. That's how I met the Holon movement, through Hilo, because I'm a community steward on Hilo and also on Holon movement. And so I'm playing both roles.
One of the things I'd like to talk about, as you're talking about enhancing communication and understanding, is the possibility of working together with you and Emannuel and so on perhaps about evolving a Zoom add-on that enables people on opposite sides of issues to come together, that basically runs through a protocol of connecting what are our vision and goals? What do we want? What are our stories? That basically helps us avert conflicts and come together across and actually rewards us for coming together across opposite sides of issues. That was part of what Garry and I talked about when we were talking about the people-powered planet, that we want to avoid the kind of thing we're seeing right now in politics where one side's bashing the other and they're not communicating. And we do that by having tools like Marshall Rosenberg's or Revolutionary Communications or our Bullyproof. I would recommend you all take a look at bullyproof.org or bullyproof.com, because those steps are key steps in how to break through opposite sides of issues and give us a whole bunch more tools than fight or flight, where we can actually solve problems. So let's see how we can evolve some solutionary tools that can so empower humanity that they take off and disrupt the old order. Yes.
You just said something that really piqued me, which is revolutionary tools. And the one thing that every one of the 17,000 kids that have gone through our curriculums inside the public school system in the past 4 years know for sure is that when they learn to catch the feeling in their body when stress happens and before the fight to flight kicks in, there is a bodily response. If they can learn to catch that bodily response and take one breath without thinking, without focusing on it, just one breath, and then feel the difference in their body after that breath, they'll notice that their body has calmed. The autonomic nervous system takes one breath. And when they do that, they have interrupted that process of fight back. They can choose how they want to respond in that moment. And it's changing everything for them to have that tool.
That is so wonderful. I hope you will take a look at bullyproof.org.
Yeah, I wrote it down. Yeah.
Because the first step, there's 10 animal characters spelling out bullyproof. And the first thing bust out there is exactly what you're saying, and probably should add the exact words you're mentioning, and that is to break out of the current conflict and then do that. Take a deep breath, find that other reality. And so let's talk about, after you've looked at that, how we could evolve that into a curriculum that might make a really powerful addition to the work you're doing in schools, and maybe we could collaboratively do. Maybe we'll have another Holon on bullyproof and that key steps for effective conflict resolution.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see yours and share ours.
Well, I just want to say thank you for this, and I'm really happy to welcome you to the community and into the Holon movement, and I'm looking forward to so much of the beautiful work that you're doing and we'll all do together, because this is a collective effort.
And so to follow up on that is, what kind of technology is your platform built on, and could you scale globally? And would you need more and more servers to host it as it scales? And because we have a technology called Holochain, which can scale globally without needing any server farms at all.
Amazing. I would love to, Michael, to put you in touch with Tibet, who's the technology steward on Hilo.
I want to thank all of you for coming, and we're so appreciative of joining us in this experience. A beautiful future, and it's phenomenal to have everyone here. And thank you so much for walking us through this platform that is so exciting. Oh my God.
Emannuel hasn't gotten to talk much, but we're really grateful for you for helping to kind of grandfather this all together. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to present today, and we look forward to seeing everyone in the Holon movement and action-oriented Holons. So many blessings. And
thank you.
Thank you.
Much appreciation. Yeah. See you soon. See you soon.
World citizen, lift up your voices. Oh, you know we got something to say. All we need is the same directions, heading in one way.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to our channel and like this video.